Well, those French boys have once again made some new noise, so you know what we're going to do. Pick it apart, piece by piece. Hey there kids, it's your good buddy, Uncle Ben. So the other day, Gojira released another single from their upcoming album. The song is called Born for One Thing, and it is chock-a-block full of Gojira goodness. I loved the tune as soon as I heard it, and I knew that I was going to have to do a full breakdown on how to play this song for you guys. As we go along here, we're going to talk about it riff by riff, as well as break down some of the rhythmic intricacies in the song that I believe a couple people have misunderstood. As always, downloadable tabs, backing tracks, bonus lessons, and so much more are available to everybody who supports my channel over on my Patreon page, patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. This week, my patrons are also going to get a bonus lesson to go along with this one, showing you how to get picture-perfect Gojira pick scrapes whenever you're tracking in the studio. So don't delay, sign up today. Gear-wise, you're going to need to grab a guitar that's tuned down one whole step, DGC-FAD. I'm using my Dunable Cyclops today, which is absolutely lovely. I've got that running into an Eris parallel overdrive pedal, which is then hitting the front end of my Rev Generator 120. Tones, tones, tones. First things first, let's talk about those intro harmonics and then get a little bit more deeplier on what's going on here rhythmically. Like a lot of stuff Gojira does, this isn't crazy complicated or anything, but it sounds absolutely awesome. We're playing some harmonics here on the low string, in between around the 4th to 2nd. So all you're going to do there is to put one finger really lightly on top of that string. That way you get a harmonic sound like that. And alternate pick as you just kind of drift that finger down towards the 2nd and then back up towards the 4th. You got to be sure to use a really light touch whenever you're doing those harmonics, because especially down there around the 2nd, they get really easy to accidentally mute out if you're using too much force. So go easy with the left hand. But as simple as that is, if you really want to play this right, you got to understand what kind of groove is going on right here, because I think there's a little bit of a misconception with people as to what's going on rhythmically during this intro. I know for myself, the first time that I heard the tune, I kind of got locked into that one groove with those, just straight harmonics and stuff. And then when it busts into the next riff, it felt like the song accelerated and we went to a different tempo. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. What was that, right? It really had me grooving this way for a while, and then when the rest of the tune kicks in, the pace seems like it's much faster. That straight, unbroken line of notes tricked me into thinking the groove was here. When in reality, the entire time it had been this. Triplets. Triplet, 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 triplet. And I know it's not just me that this is screwing up either, because I watched a ton of different covers that people have uploaded, and it seemed like pretty much everybody was really unsure about where's the beat about to hit for this next riff, And that's because I believe more people are also perceiving this as 16s. But if you count the entire thing as triplets, it's extremely easy to understand, and you don't feel that, tempo shift happen whenever it hits the next part. I'll slow down the track here in Logic to make it more easier to count along with, but again, whenever we go through this and count it as triplets, it's gonna make a lot more sense to you. 1 palette, 2 palette, 3 palette, 4 palette, 1 palette, 2 palette, 3 palette, 4 palette, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So what we're noticing here is that acceleration that we're feeling isn't an increase in tempo, it's an increase in subdivision. Because up to this point, the beat had been being divided into threes, triplets. And then the pulse doesn't change, but the next riff is based around 16th notes. So there's this like perceived acceleration that's happening when we go from triplet, 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 triplet to 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. That sounded like everything just accelerated, but it didn't. The quarter note, the pulse, never moved. It's just that the subdivision jumped up. We can also use the last chorus of the song to further demonstrate that triplet-based rhythm that I'm talking about. Because especially as you hear it coming out of that chorus, which is really, washy and airy sounding, if you start getting that triplet groove in mind over the top of that, then whenever the guitar goes back to doing the harmonic thing, you can really feel it locking into that triplet groove. Check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now think triplets, okay? Triplet, 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 triplet. Now you can really feel it going into that harmonic section. Triplet, 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 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I plan on one day doing a whole video about, rhythmic illusions like that, because if you know how to use them, they can add some really interesting sounds into your tunes. Next, let's check out that verse part. Simple riff and fun to play. Start off here with an open position power chord on your bottom 2 strings. And then what you're going to do after that is to strike the top 3 strings of the guitar open. Do that 3 times. Then we're going to have this repeating figure on the bottom string. So you can see that he's actually striking that 3rd fret note 2 times before you move down to the 2nd and then 1st. I really thought he was going just straight down chromatically at first. But actually, if you slow down the track and listen really closely, you can definitely hear he's hitting that 1st note 2 times. Next, we check out that pre-chorus grind riff that features some classic Gojira one-finger inverted power chords. Whenever you play those one-finger inverted power chords, it's important to understand that when you do this on the bottom 2 strings, you're essentially taking this power chord and making that note, the 5th, the higher note, an octave lower. So it's kind of like you're playing an upside down power chord. There's a couple variations on this riff that pop up through the song. Here's the way they play it the first couple times. And the 4th time they play this riff, they play it with a little variation that sounds like this. After this, you get a repeat of the verse, a shortened version of that pre-chorus grind, and then we get to the most ambiguous section of the song, and I am not going to swear to you that I know exactly what they're playing during this chorus part. It's super drenched in like a really thick delay and reverb combination. The guitars drop really low in the mix right here, and there's also tons of vocals covering this stuff up. So if you've listened to this part and you're able to hear what's going on better than me, please let me know in the comment section below how you think it really goes. But based on what I can hear in the mix and what I can see in the video, I at least have a start with these first couple of notes. So far I've seen people play this section all picked, which isn't right, or doing like all left-hand stuff, which is also not the case. That's just not really their style to do it that way. And I've also seen a couple of people playing it with like octaves like this. Sorry, Nick Nocturnal. Also just not really their style to do it that way. Plus, if you watch the music video, you can really see in a few shots them doing this in the 12th position with some pull-offs and stuff like that. So we can at least go off of that. Sometimes I see people moving the 2nd note, the G, down here to the 8th position on the 2nd string. down to here. That's also not happening. You can definitely hear that he's switching from the second string to the third string. There's that drone tone. The drone tone changes right there. Plus, again, in the video, you can see for a split second that the first two notes are played in the same position. And what happens after that? Honestly, I don't know. It is a huge mix of different effects-laden guitars. It's really hard to hear. But going off of what I know about their style from learning other tunes of theirs, I'm gonna guess that what's happening is probably something pretty simple and pattern-based, like doing pull-offs on the second string, then the third string, then moving to different positions and doing something on the second string, and then the third string again. But here's something that I was playing the other day that sounded about right. So I was just doing the pull-off pattern there on the 12 of the second string, then 12 of the third string, and then I went down to the 7 of the second string and the 9 of the third string. And you also heard in there that there's that random slide that one of the guitars does going up here to the 15th fret of the second string. The two guitars here are not playing the same thing at all, and it's made even more confusing by the kind of echo, you know, the delay and reverb and stuff that they have on the tone in this section. To kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about, I've plugged into the Axe Effects 3 right here, and I'm using the Plex delay, which is a super washy, enormous delay sound. If you're using pedals, Earthquaker Devices makes a lot of stuff that does this kind of tone. You could also use like a Strymon or something like that. But use your delay pedal and set it to where the mix is just about as loud as the actual notes that you're playing. It's got to be really loud and with a ton of repeats. That way you get that soupy, washy sound. Here's what I'm talking about. So you can hear it just repeats and repeats and repeats. So whenever you're playing a figure with a bunch of notes in it like that, you're hearing just as much of what you played 5 seconds ago as what you are playing right now, because that reverb and delay mix is just so massive. One day on down the road, I'm sure that there'll be some live footage of them playing that, and I'll figure out exactly what they're doing, and I'll make a new video then, but for now, that's my best guess. After that, we got another verse, and then we hit the first really heavy breakdown section of the song, which is all based around a simple root, flat fifth, ugly chord shape. Not a whole lot to say about this section. It's all based around that chord shape right there. It's all palm muted, but the rhythm is really weird. What's going to help you stay in time a lot more is if you're sure to start every one of those groupings with a downstroke. So in other words, don't try to like alternate strum this or whatever. Make sure every one of those starts with a downstroke. It's probably just going to sound a lot more meaner and keep you in time more better. After that, we have a variation on the pre-chorus, which uses the ending section that we learned earlier, as well as a new section here that has a pinch harmonic that's kind of predicting one of the later riffs in the tune. I'll play that for you at stepdad speed so you can see the pattern a little bit better. And notice that that pinch harmonic right there doesn't have any like Zakk Wylde or Kill Switch vibrato on it. You do the pinch harmonic on the third and just kind of yank it up and then mute it with the right hand. That way you get that signature Gojira sound. After that, we go back to the extremely ambiguous chorus part, and this time it's even more inaudible because there's some extra guitars and stuff that get added in right there. Sounds like there's one that does like a volume swell or something like that. Again, it's really hard to say. A really cool detail that they added into this section though that I think is really cool is at the end of every turn of the progression, the drums and bass play the rhythm of the breakdown that we used earlier and that we're going to use again in the next section. Check it out. Here's right here. I love little nuggets like that bands put in their tunes of just like, here's a prediction of what's going to happen later, or hey, does this remind you of something that happened earlier? That's like stuff Metallica used to do all the time in their tunes too. Next we'll go to that super heavy bridge riff, which combines a couple elements of the tune that we've heard so far, like the descending lick, the open strings, and the pinch harmonic. So your chugs on your low power chord, your 3rd fret harmonic, your chugs, then your open strings, back to the chugs, harmonic, then you're going to play the descending lick from earlier a couple times. After that, we got the heavy breakdown rhythm part again before the tempo actually does drop. And it cuts out to the single guitar doing that harmonic before we're treated to the ending, which is so fucking brutal. Like, I get goosebumps every time it gets to this part in the song because it's so heavy. So this is kind of a simplified and slowed down version of the heavy breakdown rhythm that we played earlier. And it starts off on a single guitar there that's doing a harmonic that is a little bit behind the 3rd fret. You might have to poke around until you find exactly the right spot. And at that point, they get really, really, really picky. It's really going to change pitch even if you're just barely off. We're going to use a bunch more harmonics in the next part too. But for myself, whenever I look down at the neck of my beautiful Dunable Cyclops, it's kind of like if the fret dot is here and the fret wire of the 3rd fret is right there, my finger is kind of like right there in the middle of them. Try to get you like a good camera angle so you can see right here. Like just about right there. Again, the fret dot's there, the fret wire is there, kind of right in between them. And be sure to pick those really hard too, because if you're going super light on those harmonics, they won't really ring out. You kind of have to hit them hard. You'll notice too that whenever I do that, I'm using my first finger back here just to mute out all of the other strings. That way, in case I accidentally hit them or start getting like some overtones ringing out, it won't drown out that harmonic. So you'll notice that the first chug was actually just a standard power chord, and then you're going to flatten that 5th out for the rest of the rhythm. And of course, that has to end with the Gojira, the upwards pick rake. Now, all that I'm doing to make that happen there is really turning the pick pretty vertical. I'm not really using like the tip of the pick. I'm turning the pick more vertical like that. Muting the strings lightly. That way you get some juicy, like harmonic kind of screech going on in there. And just slowly rake it up vertical. Again, the pick is nearly vertical when you do this. It has to be that way to get that really good toothy sound out of it. It sounds to me too like at the end of the riff where they do the pick scrapes and stuff, there might be another couple layers of just guitar noise they overdubbed on top of that, whether that be like a slide, or actually I saw in Nick Nocturnal's cover, he did like just kind of like beating the crap out of the bottom strings like that. Sounds pretty cool. It sounds like the record, so make the noise of your choice whenever it hits that part. Now the other guitar part right there is playing that exact same rhythmic figure, but it's moving around between a couple of different harmonics. The first one there is that one that's in between the dot and the fret that we talked about earlier. And then, there it is. So this first harmonic that you just hit one time is like right behind the 2nd fret. If this is the 2nd fret, my finger is like right here on the string. Not over it, it's just right next to it. Again, you kind of got to hunt and peck until you find these things. And then the last one that I end on is just to the left side of the dot. So if the fret dot is like this, my finger is like, boom, just on the other side of it. And those are the harmonics that you need to play the first section. The next section here is just 2 different harmonics. That same one that we had that's kind of in between the dot and the 3rd fret wire. And then for the last one here, move right above the 3rd fret wire. Again, the left hand has to be super light, the right hand has to be super heavy to get those things to come out right. I think part of the reason why that section is so freaking heavy is obviously the tempo dropping makes anything just sound ginormous, especially when it's like a big, heavy, chuggy part like that. But next time you listen to it, I also want you to hear the drum mix and how it changes, especially the snare drum and stuff like that. Like rewind to the previous section and listen to the snare tone, then go to the really heavy, slow breakdown section and listen to the snare there. It sounds like they moved the entire drum kit and put it at like the base of a canyon or something like that, because the reverb on that snare is enormous. It sounds like a shotgun going off in a cave or something like that. So really cool how they changed up the tones just to make that section hit a lot better. I really like whenever bands do that kind of thing. So there you go, guys, everything that you need to know about this new classic from those French boys. If you like this video and want to get access to all kinds of goodies, be sure to check out that Patreon page over at patreon.com/Ben Eller Guitars. This week, everybody who supports my channel is going to get that extra bonus video about the perfect pick scrape, so be sure to sign up today. Thanks again for watching. Now get away from the computer and get to work on this tune. Less clicking, more picking.